Let me give you a few tips on good communication. Because to be able to get along well with others, to be able to work well with others, to be able to live well with others, you must be a good communicator. Number one, have something worth saying. Interest, fascination, sensitivity, and knowledge. Number two, now that you've got something worth saying, number two is say it well. And you've got to be able to translate it so it'll benefit someone. You must have a good delivery system for your substance and knowledge and awareness and understanding and experience. Learn to say it well. And here are some clues on saying it well. Number one, sincerity. The best communication occurs when both people are sincere, one sincerely wishing to learn or listen, and the other sincerely wishing to share. Number two in saying it well is repetition. Part of saying it well is simply practicing to say it well. Practice, practice, practice. Part of what I teach in sales training is practice. Practice. You start with something simple, and when you don't know much about what you're doing, practice is even more important. Let's say you're in sales and your presentation's not that good, and you wander around saying, "You wouldn't want to buy this, would you?" I'm telling you, maybe if you say that often enough during the day, somebody might say, "Well, maybe I would. What are you selling?" Now you can't say, "Mind your own business." No, once you've opened the door, you've got to go through it. Here's what happens if you practice in sales. You're bound to make sales. Somebody will say, "What are you selling?" and you've got to tell them. Maybe they'll want it. You're bound to get better. If you practice, you'll get better. You'll get better at your sales presentation. You'll get better at listening to your prospect. You'll get better at closing the sale. You'll get better at earning a living. Practice is just as valuable as a sale. Because here's what's valuable in sales: the skills. The sale will make you a living. The skills will make you a fortune. So, practice your presentation and your ability to communicate what you know. The people out there who say, "No, I wouldn't care for any," are just as valuable. Why? Because they took the time to let you practice your presentation. And especially when you're just getting started, you might want to pay them to listen to you practice while you stumble around. So, be thankful for the no. Practice helps you develop skills. Skills make labor more valuable. If you just sell, you can make a living. If you skillfully sell, you can make a fortune. If you just talk, you can hold a family together. If you skillfully talk, you can build dreams and the future. The difference is skill. You can cut a tree down with a hammer, but it takes about 30 days. If you trade the hammer for an axe, you can cut the tree down in about 30 minutes. The difference between the 30 minutes and 30 days is the tool. And your best communication tool is your skill. So practice to get the skill of saying it well. Part of saying it well is sincerity. The next part is repetition. Now here's another part of saying it well: brevity. Sometimes you don't need too much, just enough. The more you know, here's what I found out. The more you know, the briefer you can be. Because you can learn to make words more effective. Jesus was brief when he was putting his team together. He just wandered around the countryside, and every once in a while he'd see somebody he wanted on his team and said, "You follow me." Now that's short. That's brief. Now, why could Jesus be so brief and yet be so effective? Here's what I think. For all that he was that he didn't have to say. For all that he was that he didn't have to say. When you become bigger, when you become wiser, when you become stronger, you become a person of better reputation, so that when you arrive, maybe your reputation has preceded you. And when you get there, you don't have to say much. You don't have to launch into a 2-hour harangue if your reputation has preceded you. Your reputation will get a lot of the job done for you before you ever arrive. Next is style. Part of saying it well is style. Be a student of style, a variety of styles. Then make sure you develop your own. Be a student, but develop your own. Don't be someone else. Let someone else influence you, but don't become them. Develop your own style. Here's another tip on saying it well: vocabulary. You've just got to have a good vocabulary to say it well. Vocabulary. We can only translate for other people with the tools called vocabulary. If you're lacking in vocabulary, then you're lacking in tools to describe some problem or some answer. Words, vocabulary. You can't communicate without them. And you can't communicate well without a defined vocabulary. Every time you come across a word that's new to you, what should you do? Look it up. Every time you're in a conversation and the other person uses a word that's new to you, look it up. Now, most of the time you can figure out the meaning of a new word by how it's used. But if you can't, make sure you hold your response until you know for sure. Several years ago, some of my friends took a survey among prisoners, some rehabilitation program they were working on. And they weren't looking for this, but here's what they found. There's definitely a relationship between vocabulary and behavior. Interesting. This is what they found. The more limited the vocabulary, the more the tendency to poor behavior. Wow. When you stop to think about it for a moment, it makes sense. Vocabulary is a way of seeing. It gives us insight, and only with your present vocabulary can you see. You can't use tools you don't have to see, to create light, understanding, awareness, comprehension, perception, vision. You can only have as much vision as your present vocabulary will give you. And if you're limited in vocabulary, then you can't see very well. Now, vocabulary is also what we use as a tool to express what's going on in our heart, what's going on in our head. Translate our questions, translate our answers, our perceptions, what we see, to be able to say it. And I'm telling you, if you have a limited way of translating and expressing what's going on in your heart and what's going on in your head, you'll fall way behind. So you'd have twin problems without a good vocabulary. Number one, you wouldn't be able to see. Number two, you wouldn't be able to express. And your world would keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Not having the vision, not having the tools. Finally, you wouldn't need a place much bigger than 10 by 12 to live. Why? That's about as big as some people's world is. That's all they've got, this little narrow world. Making mistakes every day. Why? They can't see. Getting it wrong every day. They can't comprehend. They can't understand. No tools with which to translate. For good communication, number one is having something good to say. Number two is saying it well. And number 3 is reading your audience. You've got to read what's going on between you and the people you're talking to. Should you say what you're saying a little softer? Should you say it a little stronger? Should you explain it more? Should you be more clear and concise? Should you quit? A lot of the decision-making that's going on during a conversation with someone depends on how well you can read. How well you can tell what's going on in the minds of those you're trying to reach. Doesn't matter if you're looking into the face of a child or the face of a colleague or 1,000 faces in an audience. You've got to read what's going on. You've got to pay attention. So let me give you some ways to read. The first one is you've got to read what you see. You've got to read what you see. Search the face of a child and see if you're coming across. See if they look perplexed. See if they're getting it. See if they can't get it. Body language tells us a lot. Look at how the people you're talking to are sitting. What they are doing with their hands, their eyes. A guy's got his arms crossed, legs crossed, chin tucked down and frowning. You've got your work cut out for you. This guy's not going to be easy to reach. The lady's standing up from behind her desk. You've got to hurry. She's not going to listen to much more. You've probably got to pick up the pace and get down to it. So the first one is read what you see. Here's the second one. Read what you hear. You've got to be a good listener to be a good communicator. Get some feedback. Listen. To be a good parent, you've got to be a good listener. To talk well, you've got to listen well. That's so valuable. Get the feedback. Now what you hear may help you change gears. Be a little stronger. Be a little softer. Find a different illustration. This one isn't working. Search for another way to say it. Become sensitive to someone else's words. Not just by preparing to talk when the other person's through. Listen. Pick up those signals that the feedback of words gives us. Now, here's the third way to read your audience, and that is to read how you feel. Emotional signals. You've got to learn to pick those up. Pick up those feelings. Women just seem to have this part built in. Men can learn it, but women have it. Woman says it doesn't feel right. Just doesn't feel right. Man says, what does that mean? It doesn't feel right. She says it's something. He says something, something. What is this something? She says, I'm telling you, something doesn't feel right. Now, men can learn it, but women have it. Learn to read your emotion. Learn to read what others are feeling so you can adjust your communication. So you can adjust your approach. So you can get your message across. So you can communicate well.
If they've gone out and they've made all this progress, they're real happy. They go, they're growing. Boink, they hit this plateau. Wrong sport. Not a tennis player. Up like this, boink, racquetball, all of a sudden, working hard, not getting a result, wrong thing, wrong relationship, wrong job, wrong mission. So then they go out and play golf and they go, boom. They don't even get the progress. And they go, I didn't need to use the F word that many more times in my life, right? Different piece. Now that's what a dabbler does. And by the way, dabblers by their nature are unhappy. Think about this. Even with all the economic challenges that exist, most people in North America for sure have a better quality of life than 95% of the planet. 95% of the planet is living on what? How much? 2/3 of the planet, I should say, is living on $2 a day. Your worst nightmare is somebody else's greatest dream. Most of the planet's greatest dream. Your idea of economic downfall is somebody's dream. That's the truth. And so what happens though is, would you agree we have more choices, more freedoms, more opportunities today than any time in human history, yes or no? Are most people's happy? Is their happiness tied to the quality of life they really have? Because we're a world now that's shallow. Most people are dabblers. They try something for a while, it doesn't work out, they do something else. Now you wouldn't be in this room for 5 days if you were a dabbler, but how many of you got to deal with some of these dabblers out there? Say aye. Dabblers are the people you want to make sure you keep off your team or get off quickly, because they're going to quit anyway. And the time, energy, and effort it takes to train a dabbler has the same energy you could have a platinum player. And we're going to show you some ways to do that later on. But let me show you another path for a second before we show you the rest of the training effect. Let's take the path of what I call a stressor. Here's the stressor's philosophy. I find the way. Who can relate to this? Say I. I'm going to find a way, I'm going to achieve it. So they take up a sport like tennis, and it goes like this, and they're doing really, really well. It's going really good, but eventually, boink, they hit a plateau. Here's the difference. Does the stressor quit? Ever quit? Yes or no? Absolutely not. What does the stressor do when it doesn't work out? What do? Do they settle for it? What if they actually get a little worse for a short time? What happens? They really get stressed when they go, screw this, I'm going to find a way, I'm going to break through, I'm going to learn a book, I'm going to find someone, I'm going to get a coach, I'm going to make this thing happen, I'm going to find a way, I'm going to find whatever it takes to make this thing happen. And they break through, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, they break through, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, they break through and all of a sudden they start making progress and they're so happy. And all of a sudden, guess what happens? Boink. And they go, damn. How the hell, well, how could that happen? I've been working my tail off. I just had this breakthrough. I just worked through this thing. I just fought through it. But by the way, do they hit another plateau? Yes or no? So what happens here? Do they give up? Do they quit? Do they go to the wrong sport? What does the stressor do? They stress out. Shit, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna make this thing happen. I gotta make this thing. Come on, figure something out. Let's find this thing. I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna make more calls. I'm gonna make this thing happen. And all of a sudden, eventually, what happens? Poof! Ladies and gentlemen, they break through again. Come on now. And by the way, they eventually get where they want to be. The problem is they're so stressed out by the time they get there, they're so exhausted they can't enjoy it.
The human brain has an incredible capacity for guilt. And most people unconsciously let that roll over them and kick their butt and make a horrible life. I love guilt. Guilt is a tool. Guilt is a weapon. Guilt does not have to be a bad thing. It's not like I perpetuate, but I'm like, I love that I feel bad when I don't do a good job. Most people hate that about themselves. I love that feeling. I'm like, I didn't do a good job there. Next time I will. So some people, guilt is discouragement. Other people, it's a signal for learning. To me, guilt is a signal for learning. It is the body and the brain, the spirit, knowing what is right, knowing what is wrong, knowing what's great, knowing what's mediocre. And it's saying, hey, do a little better. Now, if it's translated into a negative impulse, then some people call it guilt. But I'm totally cool with guilt. I think it's good that we feel bad when we do something that is below our standard or that's not right, because that impulse to go, I want to do that better.
The way I see it is that competition in and of itself is not good or bad. And this is like the monk mindset on 99% of things, that this mug is not good or bad. It could be filled with water or it could be filled with poison.
Yes.
And so competition, I'll give you an example. Yeah. As monks, our competition is in how much love and respect we show to each other.
That's your competition?
Like, that's what you compete on.
Or how long can we meditate for?
No.
I can meditate longer than you.
So if any monk is, and I did this plenty of times.
Really?
If I sat there and I thought, oh yeah, look at him, he's scratching his back. He got out like that. Your meditation just got destroyed. All the value. And so monks will never ask how long you meditate. They focus on how deep you meditate. And someone who meditates deep doesn't go on about how deep it was. Right. But you compete for showing respect. You compete for serving each other. You compete for how well you can collaborate. And I feel like you live this.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I feel like you have this.
I didn't used to do that.
Yeah.
For the last
but
7
you do
years,
it now. Like, you think like a monk. Like, I feel like we're always trying to find a way where we can be better friends to each other and support each other.
Yeah.
And so you're competing on that. And that's a positive competition that I think you can have. So you can still use, and this is the beautiful thing about the monk mindset, you can use any...
I can meditate longer than you.
So if any monk is sitting, and I did this plenty of times.
Really?
If I sat there and I thought, oh yeah, look at him, he's scratching his back. He got out like that.
Moved.
Your meditation just got destroyed. Right? All the value. And so monks will never ask how long you meditate. They focus on how deep you meditate. And someone who meditates deep doesn't go on about how deep it was. But you compete for showing respect. You compete for serving each other. You compete for how well you can collaborate. And I feel like you live this.
Yes.
Like
yes,
I feel like you have this.
I didn't used to do that.
Yeah.
For the last
but you
7
do
years,
it now. Like, you think like a monk. Like, I feel like we're always trying to find a way where we can be better friends to each other and support each other.
Yeah.
And so you're competing on that. And that's a positive competition that I think you can have. So you can still use, and this is the beautiful thing about the monk mindset, you can use any thing in a positive way.
One thing that's true about life is that things are always changing around you, always. Whether you are moving into a new season or in school, and all of a sudden your kids' school schedules change, or you're moving into a new season of work, and all of a sudden your work life is changing, or you're moving into a new season of your marriage or of your health or of anything. Life changes all the time, which is why it's really important to be self-aware and to make the small changes that help you enjoy and seize all the opportunities from the season of life, work, family, relationships that you're in right now.
We always have been trained to focus on the result. So people ask, what do you want in life? And I'm like, forget that. That's the worst question to ask someone. Because when you ask what you want, that's when the ads come in. And you're like, oh, I want that car. I want that home. I want that dress. I want that body. I want whatever it is. My question to you is, what do you want to wake up and be every day? Like, what do you want to wake up and do every day? What's the process that you're in love with? So we're thinking about the result, whereas my question is, forget the result. What's the process that you're in love with doing? So start there, first of all. Don't start your journey of saying, I want to be a movie director because I want to, I want to hit the blockbuster charts. I want to do this. Don't make it about that. Like, don't be like, I want to be a singer because I want to be Ariana Grande, right? Like, that's not the point. That's just a result. Do you love singing every day? And I realized this with a very honest question to myself. I'm really passionate about football, soccer. I absolutely love the game. I grew up on it. I'm still a huge fan. I missed out on it when I was a monk. I've been catching up ever since. Any football game. I was just in London last week and I made sure I went. Couldn't see a game live, but I went and watched it at a bar in London, and I love the energy. I'm so passionate about soccer. I don't have what it takes to be a soccer player.
Yeah.
Like, I do not want to wake up at 4 a.m. I wake up at 4 a.m. to meditate. When I was a monk, I wake up at 5:30 a.m. now to meditate. I do not want to wake up at 4 a.m. to go out on a raining pitch and play soccer. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be in the gym for 4 hours a day. I want to meditate for 4 hours a day, but I don't want to play soccer for 4 hours a day and then be in the gym and train. I'm not envious of any athlete in the world because it takes a different type of mindset.
If you had a kid, obviously you do have a kid, but say if you had like a 20-year-old and he's just a doper, where he wake and bakes and doesn't get anything done, he's just always like hanging out with his friends and playing video games, and he's just a loser. Yeah. I wish there was a way you could show someone like that. Like, I know that you're getting some comfort and satisfaction out of just laying around, doing nothing, eating, getting fat, but your life would feel better and richer if you had a goal, you chased that goal, you accomplished some things, and you would get this boost of confidence, you'd get this boost of self-esteem, like whatever it is that you're into doing. Maybe you're into drawing comic books, maybe you're into making pottery or sculptures but find whatever that is and pursue that instead of doing nothing. Like the people that are doing nothing, those are the real people. I mean, look, doing something might be as simple as like that Alex Honnold guy. He just climbs rocks, but he's world-class rock climber. It's something.
But it's also a goal of his, and he's also the best at it. Right?
Yes, yeah.
But those people who smoke pot all day and do that, those are also the guys who hate on Joe Rogan for being in shape. You know what I'm saying? Or being disciplined, or get on Kevin Hart's Instagram and hate on, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't, it's their own insecurities. I see what you're saying, but I would assume they would get motivated by seeing other people do something with their lives. Like that should be motivating, not
but if you grew up with losers and you're around a bunch of people with shitty attitudes, especially if it's in your household, I was very lucky that both my mom and my stepdad, they're the least hater people I've ever met in my life. They're just not haters in any way. Like if someone's doing well, they're always like, wow, look at this guy, or like, wow, look at her, or wow, look at him. There was never any hate in my house in terms of other people's success. But if you grew up with a dad and your dad's like, yeah, all these rich assholes, he thinks he's a badass, and these people that look at other people's success and instead of saying, wow, that guy did a lot of work. Like the way I'm a successful person, but the way I look at Kevin Hart, he exhausts me. Or The Rock. Those guys exhaust me. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, I feel lazy next to those guys. Like, they do so much. Like, those guys are so overbearingly ambitious, But some people, they see that and they compare themselves and they don't like it, so they start getting really and it's like a natural feeling to try to chip away at that person.
I believe in human possibility, human potential, and I think that one of our biggest limiting beliefs is the belief of how limited we really are. And so my interest is to give people the science to begin to understand how powerful they really are. And I think that science really is the language that does that really well. And the new sciences like quantum physics and neuroplasticity, neuroscience, neuroendocrinology, psychoneuroimmunology, the mind-body connection, epigenetics, all of those sciences point the finger at possibilities. So I want to create a language for people from a philosophical or theoretical standpoint for them to begin to understand what's possible. But then I want to be able to have those people begin to wire that information in their brain completely, because learning is making new connections, right, in the brain. But remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. And it's so much easier to lose our vision than to remember it, right? So then we have to begin to hardwire the brain or install the neurological hardware in preparation for an experience. So the more people understand what they're doing and why, then the how gets easier. So I want to then set up the conditions in an environment, in a workshop where people can begin to apply or personalize what they learn so that they can have an experience. An experience then further enriches the brain. But the prize of an experience is an emotion. And once you start feeling unlimited, once you start feeling abundant, once you start feeling worthy, now you're teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. So knowledge is for the mind and experiences for the body, and people begin to embody the truth of that philosophy. Now, if they can repeat it over and over again, it'll become innate in them. It'll become natural. Second nature will become easy. They'll begin to master that philosophy. So I want people to begin to understand that thoughts are very powerful. Feelings drive our thoughts, and that they can begin to create a better life for themselves once they understand some of these principles.
What's a few simple things that they should be doing right now to have a checklist to do before the end of the year to then crush for a whole 12 months moving forward?
All right. I'm going to give you something called the ladder of personal finance, which tells you where your money should go. Okay, this is just step by step. Put your money here. And if you want to know all the details about it, you can check out the system. So
it's in the book too?
It's in great detail in the book.
Got it.
Right. So if you've got some money lying around, what should you do with it? First of all, if you've got a 401k match at work, you should max that out. That's free money. Take advantage of it. And if you're not sure what that means, go to your HR person and say, does this company match any 401k contributions? If they say yes, do what I said. Next, if you've got debt, pay it off. Pay it off aggressively. You know, what's interesting is that most people in debt who I talk to don't actually know how much they owe. And that's shocking. You would think, of course they would know. No, they don't, because who wants to proactively
stare at their debt all day?
Yeah, and just feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? You feel much better when you have a plan. And the number one question I ask folks when they tell me they have debt, I say, number one, do you know how much you owe? They never do. Number two, for the rare people who say, you know, 15,000 or 70,000, whatever, I say, what is your debt payoff date? You can actually plug it in. You can plug in a debt payoff calculator online. You can map it all out, and you will be able to know the exact month your debt will be paid off.
Based on how much you're spending right now.
Based on how much you're contributing to that debt payoff. Now, you will be able to see that if you add an extra $50 a month or $100 a month, that thing will actually oftentimes shorten by years because of the interest. It doesn't matter if it's going to take you 3 months or 4 years to pay off your debt. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you know the date. Okay, so that's number two, pay off any debt you've got. 3, if you've got money left over, go to your Roth IRA. And if you can, max that out. That's a great tax advantaged account.
It's a gross tax deferred, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
so that's 3.
That's 3. Okay, it's actually post-tax money. And then 4, if you still got money, you're going to go back to your 401k, which is another tax-advantaged account. You're going to max that out. If you still got money, you're going to create a non-taxable, non-retirement account and just put your money in there. Now, there's a few other wrinkles to this. There's HSAs available. There's also your emergency fund that's talked about in the book, and all these things. They're details. But that just shows you, when you've got money, this is where you go. There's a structured way of thinking about it.
A ladder towards financial success.
Exactly. And if you follow the steps, it's almost like a waterfall. It just goes from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, and your money's going where it needs to go automatically, and you will feel great. You'll feel great, which is so important. And also, you're going to look at your accounts and see debt's going down. Investment and savings are going up. And all of a sudden, you wake up 6 months from now, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I have that much saved in my savings account. That's because of the decision you made today.
Stop saying, I got to go to work. I got to work out. I got to get this weight off of me. I got to go and meet with the people at the school. I got to deal with my coworkers. Change one word in that sentence, and everything about your life changes. I get to wake up in the morning. I get to go to work. I get to go and meet with these people today. When you say I got to, you take all of your opportunities and all of your blessings and you wrap them up in stress by saying I got to. You take all the stress off of it when you say I get to. I'm telling you, it is an amazing game changer.
If you're going to feed your destiny, you have to be careful who you spend time with. If you associate with the wrong people, they can feed you doubt, feed you negativity, feed you gossip. You're going to become like the people you hang around. Make sure that they have what you want. If they're negative, critical, they compromise, they don't have integrity, they're feeding you the wrong things. That's not on your diet. Life is too short to hang around people that are causing you to compromise, pulling you down. Your time is too valuable to waste it with people that don't have a dream, people that aren't going anywhere. You don't have to make some big announcement, but little by little, you should spend less and less time with them. But Joel, what if I hurt their feelings? What if they get upset? What if you miss your destiny? What if they're keeping you from going to the next level? When you come to the end of life, you won't stand before people. You will stand before God. He has entrusted you with a gift. You have an assignment. There's something for you to accomplish. You have a responsibility to become who God's created you to be. You have to take bold steps to protect what you're feeding. Those coworkers that are negative and critical, instead of going to lunch with them every day, the right attitude is, I love you, but I'm not going to hang around you because you're feeding me doubt, feeding me negativity, feeding me gossip, and that's not on my diet. Sometimes we don't want to rock the boat. We think if we make changes, we won't have any friends. The truth is, you may be lonely for a season, but God will give you new friends, better friends, people that will push you up and not pull you down. But if you don't get rid of the wrong people, you will never meet the right people. You should surround yourself with people that inspire you, people that challenge you, people that make you better. The book of Deuteronomy, before the Israelites went to battle, God said to the leaders, ask if anyone is afraid. If so, let them go home so they don't frighten everyone else. God knew the fear would spread and keep them from the victory. The people around you are contagious. What they have, over time, you're going to catch. That's why the scripture says, don't hang around with angry, hot-tempered people, or you will become angry and hot-tempered. Spirits are transferable. Proverbs says, when you walk with wise men, you will become wise. Notice it works in the positive and in the negative. You have to be selective with who you choose to spend time with. You're going to catch what they have. We may not realize it, but we're always feeding ourselves. What we watch, listen to, the people we're around, the thoughts we're dwelling on, that's feeding our inner man. If you go to lunch with people that talk bad about the boss, make fun of a coworker, put down a friend, they're feeding you gossip, feeding you jealousy, feeding you disrespect. Here's the key. Whatever you feed is going to grow. You may not like what they're feeding you. You're a nice person. But if you continue to hang around them, before long, you'll be gossiping. You'll be critical. You'll be disrespectful. Why? Because you kept feeding the wrong things. If you're always feeding negative thoughts, thinking, I'll never get well, I'll never meet the right person, you're feeding doubt, feeding mediocrity, feeding fear. A man told me how he spent years of his life on drugs and alcohol, and it had ruined his marriage. He wasn't there for his children. Now he was so down on himself, so discouraged. What was he doing? Feeding the guilt, feeding the regret, feeding the blame. If you feed guilt, it's going to get bigger. If you feed fear, it's going to become larger. What if you spent that same energy feeding your faith, feeding your hopes, feeding your dreams? Yes, I've made mistakes, but Father, thank you that your mercy is bigger than any mistake. Thank you that I am forgiven. Quit feeding the negative and start feeding your faith. What are you allowing in your spirit? The people you're spending time with, the thoughts you're dwelling on all day, is that inspiring you, building your faith, pushing you towards your dreams? Or is it junk food, feeding you guilt, mediocrity, negativity, causing you to compromise? The wrong people can talk you out of your dreams. Don't surround yourself with naysayers, people that tell you what you can't become. You'll never start your business. You'll never break that addiction. You'll never get your degree. You'll never meet the right person. They don't know what's in you. They don't control your destiny. Some of you have dreams that are lying dormant because the people around you are negative. They've accepted mediocrity. Now that's rubbed off on you. The good news is those dreams are still alive. If you will change who you're spending time with, get around people full of faith, people that see your potential, people that call out your seeds of greatness, then you're going to step up to a new level and see those dreams come to pass.
Summertime is a unique time. It's a time of opportunity. It's also a time of challenge. But what else is new? It's what life is called. The last 6,500 years reads like this: opportunity mixed with difficulty. Opportunity mixed with challenge. We've got a chance to grow like never before, but I'm telling you, there's going to be many enemies that's going to try to prevent us. As soon as you plant the garden, the busy bugs and the noxious weeds are out to take it, and you've got to learn not only to nourish your values, you've got to learn to do battle with your enemies. Whatever threatens you, I'm asking you to threaten it back. Take care of your responsibility, but don't take anything off of anybody. Somebody wants to destroy your chances for a good future by their negative talk, negative thinking, putting it all down. I'm telling you, walk away if you have to. Walk away. Whatever threatens you, threaten it back. Whatever threatens your opportunity, threaten it back. Now, some of our enemies are on the outside, but here's the most important thing to understand. Some of our enemies are on the inside. Let me give you a quick list. Indifference. You got to do battle with your own indifference. Boy, it's easy to coast. Especially if you've accomplished something, extraordinary. Now, somebody says, I got to relax. Here's the key. Not too long. The weeds will take all you plant if you rest too long. Don't rest too long. Indecision. You got to make those decisions. The ones that don't turn out to be good gives you experience to make better decisions. Don't let much time go by without making some decisions. The ones that you can make quickly, make them quickly. The ones that take time, take your time. But get those decisions made. Don't let indecision be an enemy, rob you of the future, empty your bank account, leave you with zero in the purse. Don't let that happen. The next one is doubt. Sure, there's doubts on the outside. People doubt that America's going to make it. People doubt that Europe's going to make it. People doubt that Russia's going to make it, that Poland's going to make it, that Czechoslovakia's going to make it. They doubt the whole world is going to make it. But I'm asking you not to pick up all those doubts. I'm asking you to have some faith, have some courage, believe, drive your doubts into a small corner. Don't let them loose like a mad dog, drive you into a small corner. Don't doubt the future. Don't doubt the possibilities. Don't doubt the extraordinary gifts that your distributors bring to your organization. Don't doubt that. And here's the most important one of all. Don't doubt yourself. If I've got miracle working power to change my life, so do you. If I've got the ability to change, so do you. If I've got the ability to read, so do you. If I can discover, so can you. If I can grow, you can grow. If I can develop, you can develop. If I can get an invitation like I got 6 years ago, help take something around the world, so can you. If I can stand on this platform, Idaho farm boy raised in obscurity, so can you. If the millionaire team can do it, president's team can do it, walk off with the diamonds, the trophies, so can you. I'm asking you, don't sell yourself short.
That person that left you, no offense to them, but they're a weed. Quit watering the weed. Quit thinking about the weed. This is a new season. God has divine connections lined up for you. Instead of feeding the hurt, feed your faith. Father, thank you that my latter days will be better than my former days. Thank you that what was meant for my harm, you're using to my advantage. If you'll feed your destiny, God will make up for the wrongs. Isaiah said, because you got a double dose of trouble, your inheritance in the land will be double, and your joy will go on forever. That's my prayer for you. That you'll not only see double restored back to you, but you'll be happier and more fulfilled than you've ever been. In Acts chapter 1, the apostles came together to choose a replacement for Judas, who had betrayed Jesus. It came down to two men, Matthias and Barsabbas. The apostles prayed, asked for wisdom. They finally chose Matthias. But imagine how Barsabbas must have felt. This was an incredible opportunity. The 12 apostles would have their names written on the foundation of the New Jerusalem. They would forever be esteemed and respected. Barsabbas got so close, he almost became one of the honored apostles. He could have gotten discouraged, bitter, dropped out. But instead of feeding his history, instead of dwelling on what didn't work out, he let it go and kept feeding his destiny. In Acts chapter 2, it says they were all together in one accord, in one place. That means he wasn't there with a bad attitude. He didn't have a chip on his shoulder. He kept moving forward. When you go through a disappointment, something doesn't work out, do like him. Don't feed the negative. Don't sit around thinking, oh man, I missed my big opportunity. God knows what He's doing. Sometimes He will close doors that we think should be open. Maybe you didn't get the promotion that you worked so hard for. You didn't qualify for that loan, for the new house. The relationship didn't work out. That's in the past. God put a period. That's history. Now keep moving forward. Keep feeding your faith, feeding your dreams. At the right time, God will open a better door for you. It's time to break out of that box. Don't let the limitations of those around you hold you down. You were made for more. You have new levels in you. There are seeds of greatness waiting to spring forth. You may have had some disappointments in the past, but this is a new day. God is about to release His favor in a new way. Chains that have held you back are being broken. Doors are going to open that you never dreamed would open. Now do your part. Keep feeding your faith, feeding your hopes, feeding your dreams. Stay on your diet. No more feeding doubt, negativity, compromise. No more mourning over what didn't work out. Don't use your energy to feed your history. Use your energy to feed your destiny. If you'll do this, I believe and declare, you're about to come in to Jesse's house. You're about to see new levels, new opportunities, new relationships, the fullness of your destiny in Jesus' name.